My people, welcome back to another episode of Through a Culture Lens. I am your host, Michael Anthony, and of course I'm here with one of the smartest people, one of the brightest people, a person who can reconstruct a building by herself, Miss Amber Gray. What's going on, sis? How you doing?
I'm doing well. Very good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. You know, of course, this weather has been cooperating with us lately, you know, so that has always been awesome, you know.
Yes. Yeah. It's been hot. It's been cold. It's been moderately cold, moderately hot. We're all over. But that's spring. That's kind of spring. So.
It is. I know. The rain, it's April showers, right? April showers?
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And of course, you, the third host, you guys in the chat, you know, please, you know, thank you always for coming and supporting us and making the chat live. Of course, I would like to apologize. Last week we were not able to do an episode because I was a little bit under the weather. Didn't get the Rona, but you know, brother, we needed.
Thank God.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah, but you know, so I'm back and you know, we ready to go ahead and do it. You know, so we're just excited to go and keep it going today. You know, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. How are y'all feeling out there? Let us know. I'm feeling really good today.
Yeah. Definitely let us know who's in there. You know, definitely let us know who your cities are, and so we can always give you a chat. But, you know, on today's episode, you know, if some of y'all seen some of the posts that we put up there, today is going to be our season finale. You know, yes. We have put in, what is it now, 15, 16 episodes now?
I think we're like a little over 15. I think 17.
Yeah, I think it's like 17 episodes. So, you know, at this point right now, you know, we just need to take a little bit of a break, you know, and also there's some engineering that we want to do with the show. You know, we have some exciting things that we want to do with you guys. So right now, we're just going to take a 3-week hiatus right now so we can, because we just want to improve the show for you guys. That's all we want to do. And what's going on, Tobiah?
We want to work on content. Hey, Tobiah. Yeah, we want to work on content. Make sure we have a good sleek look going on. So there are going to be some look differences when we come back, but yeah, we can't wait to bring out some new content. And plus we've been doing this since December 10th, pretty consistently. So you know, a little bit of a break, a little bit of a spring break for the adults right now.
Exactly. And that's all we need. That's all we need. Just a little bit of a break. But you know, we have some big things that we want to do with the show, you know, but as you guys know, we put in a lot of research into the show, a lot of effort into the show. But we want to take it to another level. And so we just need some time to be able to take it to another level so that we can make sure that we're bringing the best content to you guys as much as possible.
That's right.
And so we definitely love you guys. But of course, you know, as you guys know, we always start our show off with industry news. And I think we have a little bit of a topic here on a show that I haven't yet watched just yet. Now you've been into this show a little bit. This show is Them. It's on Amazon.
Keep making that noise. Woo! That's gonna be the noise for this show.
So I haven't seen any of it. You know, I've been catching up. I've been binge watching on a lot of old content. Matter of fact, I'm just watching I May Destroy You now. But we'll get to that later. But there's a lot of buzz going on about this show, Them.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
So it's a Black produced. Lena Waithe and Little Marvin, and I believe written and directed. So this is basically a For Us Bias, a show. It's on Amazon, so it's on right now. You can stream all the episodes. I think there might be 8 to 10. I can't recall. I'm about halfway through right now. And so far, I've gotten my throat punched every episode for the most part. Like you said, there's been some controversy. I've seen a lot more hate than I've seen of this show, and I think that's a little unfair because a lot of the hate is because of Lena Waithe. People kind of have this visceral reaction to Lena Waithe because of Queen and Slim, one of your gems, and I think she's also Snowfall. Is she not? Is it The Shy or Snowfall?
It's The Shy.
Okay,
Showtime.
On Showtime. So a lot of her content people have called kind of Black trauma porn, what they've called it, because a lot of it is traumatic. It's us kind of getting brutalized by white characters for the most part, and having these unfortunate circumstances happening to Black people. So they don't like her for that. I think that's unfair. I think that as content creators, as Black content creators, we should be able to create whatever content that we want. Again, it's that limited availability of the content. So and I think too, there is a certain level of criticism that we can have for this particular show because again, we've had a traumatic 2020. This has just kind of like been across the board for most people. If you weren't affected by the Rona specifically, the year was just difficult. I mean, we had a difficult year. It's a hard year. We had a hard year because of the president. We had a hard year because of just, the, social justice unrest. It just was a hard insurrection, which was obviously 2021, but that carried from 2020 really. So it's a kind of a tough year. And I think a lot of people felt like after the year that we had, do we really need to see a show where we're literally getting our asses handed to so it is over and over again. So I understand the criticism, but what I will say for the show so far, like I said, I haven't finished it and you haven't started it yet. Beautiful actors, beautiful looking cast.
They look good.
Beautiful.
They look good.
Yeah, look good. Beautiful set design. Well acted. I mean, even from the white people that you don't like in the story, just a very well acted show. And that's what you get from Lena, though. I mean, you get a very beautiful shot movie, a beautiful shot show. Subject matter is questionable. I guess, a lot of us now are in this kind of space where we really want light. We want light. We want a little bit of, we want something that's kind of, not going to just rip our throats out. So I can see why people are feeling some sort of way about the show, because it is kind of just one episode after the other, and there's not a whole lot of retribution, which also is it's not satisfying.
Yeah. I'm very
so far.
interested. I mean, I saw the advertisements for it. I saw where they were trying to compare it to Lovecraft Country and Us at some point in time, which maybe is a marketing ploy, since Lovecraft Country and Us were so popular that maybe they're trying to find their way into this black psycho thriller genre. Yeah,
well, there's a reason. I mean, there's some supernatural elements, which of course Lovecraft Country had that supernatural element, and it is in the 50s, which is also Lovecraft Country. So there's definite parallels, no doubt about it. Completely different take on similar subject matter, though. So Lovecraft Country, you have that kind of you're getting beat up, you're having these civil unrest happening because it is the 50s. You're having obviously the Klan and sort of that typical imagery of the South and the Midwest that was happening then. You have that typical imagery in Lovecraft Country, but you also have the supernatural element of us being able to escape, and us being able to be go to a different dimension and be a king and be a queen and that sort of thing. So be a wizard. So there's a relief there. And then obviously I'm not going to give too much away if you haven't seen the whole series. And at the end, there is kind of this kind of comeuppance, that is very satisfying to a Black viewer. But this show so far there's no satisfaction yet. There's no, it's just brutal.
You haven't finished it yet, though. You haven't finished it yet.
That's why I said so far there's been no satisfaction. It's just been a bunch of brutality, and I get the criticism, but again, I'm gonna stick it out. Stick it out and see how it goes.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a try myself. At some point, probably this weekend, I'm gonna start it up. But but I gotta catch up on I May Destroy You first, because that show is absolutely amazing.
It's amazing.
It is.
It's amazing.
And of course, we see that people starting to show up in the chat. Thank you guys very much for always coming through. We see Aisha's coming, came out, first lady of the show. Uncle Pete, he's in the house.
Uncle Pete.
Absolutely. And so
Tristan's already saying, my brother's already saying, I refuse to watch them. He already told me. He texted me before I could even have a conversation with him. He's like, I'm not watching that.
Yeah,
nope.
And I can't fault him for that. I can't, because I had to take my time too, because especially the way that we do this show and as much as we've covered, which of course brings us to nice segue of all of the topics that we have talked about in the 15, 16 episodes that we've covered. We've talked about Black love dynamics, mental health during the holidays, movie reviews. Remember we did the movie review on FBI or MLK FBI, Judas and the Black Messiah. We talked about the United States versus Billie Holiday, all Black trauma. Jingle Jangle. We did Jingle Jangle. Jingle Jangle was the one bright spot in there. But then love, Black love dynamics. We covered that in sort of the web that all that is involved with. The Take a Knee situation that, so it's like we didn't mean for these shows to be as heavy. Or even the Nielsen report that we did, which we were just giving information, but it necessarily didn't feel like it was flattering information. Yeah. So I can get it, Tristan, brother. I get it. Watching so much trauma and our people getting brutalized, time and time again, I see Tobias says, every year for us is a hard year. It is. And to kind of get a reminder of that, it's like, can we get a win? You know, and that's the critique that you and Jay always told me and other people told me about, you know, Queen and Slim. Could we have gotten that win at the end? It would have been satisfying. I am starting to lean with you guys now that if we would have gotten away at the end, it would have been satisfying.
I think, and I mean, as Tobias said, it's like we turn on the news, we got this young brother in Minnesota. We've got this, you know, it's just weekly, there's something happening to one of us in a way that it shouldn't have went down. And it wouldn't have went down had it been another person of a different color, right? And that's the part where it's like, we have to deal with the current atrocities that happen to us and just everyday life. It's like, can we escape? It's like, that's the one thing you want to do. It's like, that's the whole reason television was invented and films were invented, is to escape. But for some reason, and this has been a critique, I'm in actually a Lovecraft Country group, and they've been talking about them a lot because of the comparison. So that's been a big topic. And then in the group, they're saying, you know, one of the things that as Black people, it's frustrating that we can't have a film or a television show or anything that doesn't have a racialized element because our whole existence is racialized. And I think that's part of the frustration of watching the films that are strictly Black cast or the biopics that we see. It's like there's always going to be that racial element because we've always been made to feel inferior. We've always been made to feel othered. So that particular element, I'm not sure how we can get away with it, but we did talk about like Insecure. Insecure is like one of the shining shows where you could plop any nationality in the show and it could stand and be a funny show. It's like completely, I don't want to say colorblind because there's obviously like Black, you know, specific Black elements of the show, but there isn't any specific topic that's about the Black existence and how tragic it is and how devastating it is. It's just literally angst. It's the angst that a young adult goes through. And so having more of that would be great. If we could just have the angst that most young adults go through, or families go through these weird kind of dynamics, every family, like that kind of show would be nice. That kind of movie would be nice, but we don't typically get those all the time.
And I'm wondering, is it because of how we watch the content? You know, are we seeking it out? Is it that other communities and cultures are seeking out this information to even better understand Black culture and Black life? Because I know whenever I go to any movie theater, when I used to go to movie theaters anyway, and I would go see Selma or 12 Years a Slave, whenever I would go to the movies, the theater's packed with white people. Like, it's not a lot of Black people in there. Now, probably goes to Tristan's point of, he ain't trying to see that much trauma, especially on no big screen. You know, I can get that. But, you know, somebody is wanting this information, as we talked about through the Nielsen report. You know, people are consuming this, and that is what's keeping these production companies funding these type of projects. Because even with them, the start of this year with the movies that we've talked about, the movies like the Golden Globes, that was one of the topics that we had covered. In the movies that were in the Golden Globes, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, tragedy. United States versus Billie Holiday, won an award.
Tragedy.
Super tragic. And Judas and the Black Messiah.
Tragedy.
And all three of those movies are getting rotated into the Oscar conversation.
Right.
And so I don't know if is that they think that this is what we want? Is this content for white people so they can be aware? I don't know. Like, who's supposed to be woke in this?
That's a good question, because that's what, you know, that's been the discussion about the show Them. It's like, who is this for? Like, are we creating these shows to keep reminding ourselves about what our grandparents went through? It's like, I think we kind of know at this point, right? Most of us at this point, if it wasn't an oral history passed down from our grandparents, we've at least been in spaces where these discussions have happened. So we kind of know the atrocities. We know about the horrible things they did to Black babies and alligators in Florida and Mississippi and things like that. Like, we unfortunately know these things. So since we know these things, it was traumatic hearing them as kids or reading books as kids about this stuff. Who is this for? Because specifically that show, I'm on the kind of impression that it actually isn't for us. I don't think this show is actually for us at all. I actually think it's to kind of remind, white people that, you know, this kind of conversation that you and I have had, and I've had this conversation with Omar before, where a lot of white people's kind of defensive rebuttal when it comes to injustices against people of color is, well, my grandparents didn't own any slaves. I don't come from a slave owning family, or I don't know anybody that owned slaves. I didn't own.
That happened so long ago.
It happened so long ago, right? That's usually like every time you try to have this kind of like racialized conversation about the differences in how you're getting treated and how we're getting treated, it ends up with like, I had nothing to do with this. Well, the show them kind of, for me, paints a picture of, let me tell you how you subtly or not so subtly had everything to do with this in the not so distant future, past and the current, because maybe you didn't own any slaves and maybe you don't come from a slave owning family, or your lineage doesn't have that history, but you sure help with redlining. You sure help with white flight. You sure help with making sure that Black family felt completely unwelcome when they tried to move into Compton, as the first Black family that tried to move into Compton when that was a white neighborhood. So you did make these, probably, got it caught up in the groupthink and everybody in your neighborhood wasn't for this Black family moving in, but I'm sure there was some sort of conversation. Y'all got together and made sure that Black family felt very unwelcome. That's the kind of things that happened in the 60s and the 50s when, the Great Migration was happening. So you may think that you were settled, I didn't own slaves, but there were some detrimental things that happened for people that are still alive that remember that you were doing to make them very uncomfortable and very unwelcome, and cause some, discomfort, if not some brutal acts to occur.
I know that there are people that's my mama's age and my uncle's age and our auntie's ages that were racist.
Exactly.
If the election did not show us anything, 49% of the people voted for Trump.
That's right.
That's all you need. So they still out there. They there.
And kicking, alive and kicking.
Right. Now, would you say, but with it being 49%, is that progress though? Because this year, if there was no other year when people needed to go to the ballot, it's the most turned out, the biggest turnout for election in the history of the United States. And it came down to races, white supremacy and not white supremacy, right. Black lives, basically.
Right.
That's what it felt like, right?
Right.
I feel like I'm crazy. And so now we're on 40. Think about if this was the same issue in 1910. Trump would have won. If this would have been in 1960, Trump would have won. So we have to say that we get some progress, because right now, not to put that out there, but if something was to pop off tomorrow, I feel like we got more people.
I think we do.
Based off they votes.
I think we do. I think there's definitely a segment of the population that has watched enough Netflix documentaries at this point.
Please.
To see what kind of laws were put in place to hold us back, what kind of practices were put in place to make sure we didn't succeed, and just war on drugs, like all of these different programs that happened. FBI. I was just listening to a podcast earlier, a crime podcast, and they were talking about how all the horrible things that happened in the Black community because of the FBI. So people are learning. I think this is what the internet was for. This right now, to me, like, the people are always like, well, the internet is kind of this black hole where anybody can say what they want to say, but this is like the internet at its best. People being able to get access to information that would have been buried in books that they would have no frame of reference to even go look for in the library. But now you have conversations with people that are actually doing research, and at the very least watching a documentary on something they didn't know. At the very least they're watching 13th. On the very least they're watching, MLK, FBI. At least they're watching these things to kind of understand what we've been saying for how many centuries. So I think we do have more people on our side, but it's still an uphill kind of battle, because there's still a lot of people that are asleep, a lot of people that are kind of like burying their head in the sand and don't think that they had anything to do with something, so I do think we have an uphill battle, but I do think we're definitely better than we were in 1910.
Yeah, I agree.
If that's anything to write home about.
No, I understand. And of course, people, thank you again for tuning in to Through a Culture Lens. Please hit that like up. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, so then you can know whenever we come up with new content, because this is the end of season 1. And when season 2 pops off, we're going to be on a whole new stratosphere. So thank you for coming, hit that thumbs up. And today is just our season finale today. We just want to kind of go over our year in review, sort of, for our show. And so, of course, thank you for joining us on this show. So I see that there's some people in the chat. What's going on in the chat there?
Your uncle's ready. Your uncle ready. He said he's ready. He said, I'm ready. I've turned militant and I'm ready. I'm with you on that.
Okay, that's good. And I see Tobias, he's in there saying that our wins are usually personal and not something shared with the collective. I guess
That's
he's talking
true.
about like when we get a win that we don't share it with like other communities, like it's just ours because we get so few of them.
That's true. And I think too, like, to your point, and we've talked about this, Michael, to your point about like, are we selecting these shows and these movies, or are they being selected for us? I think there's a psychological aspect that we can't ignore when it comes to the Black community, right? Like we have amongst each other, we talk about the crab in the barrel, right? We talk about other people not wanting, other Black people not wanting other Black people to succeed or shine or not supporting each other. Like there's always these things we say like, oh, we don't support each other. These kind of like flippant comments we make. I do think that there's a level of any group of people that's been through what we've been through is going to have some like level of mental illness. I mean, it's just kind of like inevitable at this point. And I do think that there's some aspect of us feeling more comfortable in the trauma space, feeling more comfortable in the kind of like drug movies and the drug TV shows. Like there's a little bit, and like to the whole Nielsen report of us still kind of seeking out that stuff. If that's what we're searching for, if we're searching out, the rivalry shows, which are usually the reality shows that are not necessarily positive. And if Black men are searching for shows that have a street element to it, I do think there's a level of comfort in what we've been consuming and what we know. Anything else feels corny to us, because we are the provider, we're the purveyors of hip and cool. So it's almost like anything counter to what we are accustomed to is kind of uncomfortable for us in a way. Just a little tangent. So I don't know. I just think that we are kind of driving the content, but we also need to, if we're going to keep complaining about the content, we have to accept that we have to give the viewership to the shows that are counter to what they're serving us.
Right. And I guess that's the hard part, because it goes back to when we were talking about the Black female directors in the early days, and how it was difficult for, them and Oscar Micheaux to make movies, but they were making movies, but then the studios or the white man would come in and start just buying up all the theaters and then showing only their movies. So purposely we were getting fed these movies because it was like, well, this is what we're giving you. We know that there's an audience. We know you're going to spend money, but we're not going to show you all this other stuff. I mean, by them muting Billie Holiday, let you know that they're censoring the information that we're getting as Black people.
Exactly.
It's getting dumbed down. It's getting dumbed down to us. So where so watered down, Judas and the Black Messiah, we talked about that, where Shaka King had to go through revision after revision after revision with the studio. Luckily, Fred Hampton Jr. and his wife or girlfriend at the time, can't remember her name, and I do apologize if you ever watched the show, but they were consultants on Judas and the Black Messiah to make sure he told it right. So it's like how much, pulling and tugging was there in order to get the true essence of the story out. Once again, we are fans of the movie, but are we getting the diluted version, or are we just getting straight no chaser?
I think we're getting everything we get as the Black consumer from a Black content like aspect, unless it's completely guerrilla, completely funded, personally funded. If it's a studio film, it's going to be watered down. That's just what it is. Because even as much as I love Black Panther, they had to at least have one white character, right? And that goes with every type of studio film. You got to at least have one white character, just like we talked about Eddie Murphy in Coming to America. They had to put, what's his name? Huey Lewis. What's his name?
The guy with the gap teeth. He had the cartoon.
Yeah, my brother and I watched the cartoon, but I can't remember his name.
He had oh man.
It was Louis something.
Tristan, if you there, I don't know if you can remember that guy's name. But to put us in the chat, but I know exactly what you're talking about though.
Yeah. So it's like they add, like you told me, they added him because they needed one white character. It's like, we can't do any movie. Now, are they getting that same treatment? The white films? No. We've all watched plenty of films that there was not a single Black person even walking by. Like that just tells you right there that if it's going to be a studio film, there's going to be a level of whitewashing, a level of watering it down, because they just feel that it's going to make the audience uncomfortable if they don't see themselves. But, we're never given that consideration. So Louis Anderson.
There we go.
Yes. Thanks, guys. I knew my mom or my brother would know.
Exactly. Thank you. That's why you're the third host of the show. Appreciate your family. Appreciate you. All right. And then Mama Candace says, living in the 50s and 60s, I remember being called names in school and driving for miles and miles because we couldn't find a place that would rent to Black people.
See?
like the Green Book, like they had in the
Exactly.
South. So if she's old enough to remember that, you don't think that the people, whenever she was in school, are still alive and didn't hand down those traditions?
Exactly.
Racism doesn't get diluted, unlike black movies.
Right. Exactly. So that's the part that's like insulting whenever you hear, white people kind of countering the whole racism doesn't exist and this whole like post-racial thing. It's like, come on now. We could tell you stories like the story my mom just said. I mean, just hearing stories about like them doing the migration, moving from the South to California, just the stories I heard my grandparents say. And my grandfather literally being shipped out of Arkansas to San Francisco as a teenager because his mother was afraid he's going to get lynched.
Wow.
And he just died 3 years ago. So this is not somebody that, he was, it's not some relic from 300 years ago. This is in our time frame.
We had running water and electricity.
Exactly. I mean, they just like to think the brutality stopped in like 1867, and no, it did not. It continued on.
They do, or no, but they will give credit to MLK, because I feel that white people feel that MLK stopped racism. At least not made it stop public racism. Let's say that. Right. He stopped the public display of racism that was now, was it faux pas, as they say? But they'd
hate him now. They would hate him now.
Oh, they defaced his burial site, his mama's burial site in Atlanta. Yeah, they're going crazy. Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing they forget. It's like your mother and father, if you're in your 60s or 70s, probably hated him. Mm-hmm. Probably thought he's a troublemaker and a loudmouth. So let's stop like pretending like he's like this messiah now.
Right. Oh, they probably believed that he was a communist.
They probably did. Oh, that was, I'm sure, what they thought, actually. So everybody was a communist in the 50s and 60s.
Everybody was a communist.
Status quo.
Man, they just keep messing up. Okay, well, family, thank you again for always joining in. I see the chat is on fire. Y'all missed us, man, and we missed y'all too. We missed y'all too. Okay, Tobiah chimes in again. The difference between today and the past is we got new black movies every week in the late 60s and the 70s. Oh, you mean like back in the day they weren't having movies? Is that what you're trying to say, Tobiah? I think that's what you're saying. The difference between today and the past is we got new black movies every week. Oh, in the late 60s. Oh, so there was more black content. I think is that what he's trying to say. I think during the blaxploitation era.
Yeah, I mean those movies were getting churned out left and right. Those movies.
They was getting. Yeah,
it was on a conveyor belt of movies back then.
And that was whenever black filmmakers started taking some independence. I mean, Dolomite. Dolomite is like that movie is once again it's a fantastic movie. Well, not the Dolomite, the one that Eddie Murphy did. My name is Dolomite.
Dolomite is my name.
Dolomite is my name. That's a fantastic movie. The Dolomite movie, it is trash, 100% trash, but it is inventive, as well as just the ingenuity of them having such a low budget, using student filmmakers to, they didn't have any business being in there, to shoot this movie and have a beginning, middle, and end, and it was a hit. It was a hit. So I can see where that sort of grew this whole blaxploitation film market. But then, of course, Hollywood dropped Shaft and The Dirty Dozens with Jim Brown, and then they take over just like they did back in the day.
Everything else, because they saw, because blaxploitation was like kind of like a backlash. It was like all the movies that they had prior, where we're obviously like the subservient role or the lesser than, and that's why blaxploitation was so fun, because it's like we were like kicking ass, taking names, like we were just literally going through town, ravaging people, punching people in the face. I mean, it was fun. Most of those movies were so fun to me to watch.
Oh, they were the best. I mean, they were the best. We already know on my top 10, I put Black Caesar.
You did. I love Superfly. I love Sweetback's badass song. I love the Mac.
He once again didn't put respectable Negroes probably won't like it, but for the time though, and because once again it was the only thing that we can see of ourselves on the screen, so we're going to gravitate to that, and that's one thing that the Nielsen data and all of the other data says, is that we are still consuming this data because we get so much little of it. And I think that's why, and as we keep talking about this, it feels like they are not only diluting it, but they're making sure that only a certain percentage of content is being released about Black lives, and how they want to frame it. So do you think Black exploitation is literally just the precursor to what we're seeing now of the snowfall and power? Is that just I would say like what you see on Bounce TV. You know.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, Bounce is making their own content. They got a show up there with Clifton Powell and what's her name? She was the one who was the barking person on Coming to America.
Oh yeah,
Vanessa Bell Calloway.
Yeah, Vanessa Bell Calloway.
Yeah, they're on a show called Saints and Sinners. You know, I mean, it's a little bit dramatic. It's like a spin-off of Greenleaf. You know, with a little bit of thug. It has a little bit
I
of
like
streets in it.
Greenleaf.
But you know, Saints and Sinners, great show. You know, they have a show up there with Omar Gooden Jr., the couple Tamala Mann and her husband. Yeah. They got a show on there. So it's like only, and the only reason I know that is I got antenna because I refuse to pay for cable, and so I get Bounce. But you know, TV One, you know, they have their documentary stuff. You know, so I think there's content being made, but I don't think in the amount. I think back in the 70s when it was independently produced and the word of mouth was so much better then. At least that's my thoughts.
I guess my interpretation of that question is more so just the content of Black exploitation films was very street heavy, right? And that was the first time we were seeing street heavy movies with primarily Black casts. All the main characters were Black, but most of them were not up to any good, right? Most of them were pimps or informants or working with the mob or something like that. So to me, that's kind of feels like Power. It feels like Snowfall. It feels like these newer shows because I think, again, it's like those are the only shows that we seem to be able to be main characters in. It's kind of like that spin-off of a Black exploitation film, which I think the 70s needed it. I think that was a great time for that. But I do think that, you know, we've got a wide variety. We're not like, as you said, and with the Nielsen conversation, we're not a monolith. We're not a monolith. While I can watch, you know, Power, I haven't watched Snowfall, I haven't watched Shy, I haven't watched those shows, but I also want to see, you know, an Insecure type show. I want to see more Insecure type shows.
What happened to ATL? Or Atlanta? I'm sorry.
What happened? Well, that's coming back, right? That's coming back.
But how long, though? And then
I know, it's been, what, 3 years?
Is it, and is it going to be as good? Because, you know, you have to get a flow going, you know. You have to get back in it. So now it feels like how they're going to shoot it. You know, Childish Gambino, he's been doing his own little music thing. You know,
all of them have. Lakeith Stanfield, all of them have.
You know, so
Girls Domino in Deadpool.
Yeah. So it's like now when they do pull it together, is it still going to have that same essence that it had before? That's the only thing that I'm worried about. Because my fears are going to be like The Game. I don't know if you remember The Game.
When they came back, when they left CW or when they were on UPN, wherever it was. It
was CW. It was CW, and they moved over to BET.
And it just went.
There was two completely different shows. Completely different shows. So that's my only concern. But of course, folks, thank you for coming in. And I see that, we're getting some Superfly. Was definitely a good one.
I love Super. My mom.
Blackula. I love that movie. Blackula. That is hilarious. That was hilarious. Oh, Three the Hard Way.
The Hard Way.
Yeah. That was definitely a good one. Oh, man. These you guys are giving us some such. What is, you said, what's another one? Pamela Greer. Like, nobody really throws Pamela Greer.
Pam Greer. Foxy Brown.
But people really don't throw her movies out there like that. Really? Do you think so?
Well, I love Foxy Brown. So I love Foxy Brown, personally.
Okay.
It feels like I'll give her that.
It feels like people don't really talk about her all that much.
And she's really like the only female name I can think of from that time frame. Who else was
nobody really
doing them?
Nobody.
I mean, I've tried to remember her because she's really the only name I can think of female-wise. You know, it was mainly a Black male genre.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And of course, folks, thank you for joining us. Today is our season finale. We're just doing a little recap.
Oh, Claudine. Jay's here. Hey, Jay.
Oh, hey, what's up, Jay? Which was one of our guests on the show before. And actually, I wanted to bring in, this was the previous show. Now, this was a recorded show, as you guys can see. We did a show 2 weeks ago. It was a part 3 of our Nielsen diversity report, and we was talking to our very first guest, Tiffany Wright, mental health professional, and she was on the show talking about the implications of, you know, content that we watch and the amount of content that we watch. We had a really good conversation. We did that show as a recording just because of time, because Tiffany's in California and she couldn't make it for our 6:15 show. So we had her on and we did a recording. So please, and if you're seeing the recording, we will put a link somewhere up here.
Yeah,
But then
it's in the show notes
it's
as
also
well.
in the show notes as well. So we just wanted, but what did you get out of that conversation? You know, if we could do a little quick reflection.
Yeah, this conversation was really good because, you know, we were talking about some of the charts that we had showed you guys on the Nielsen report and how Black people are basically how the media kind of creates this content for us, this specific type of content. And the Nielsen report kind of showed what kind of content that we're searching for, in addition to what kind of content is being catered towards, you know, to us. So they had that one section of Black women are looking for shows that have rivalry in it, shows about sons, shows about, I think it said emotional connections. And then Black men had shows about streets, teamwork or something along those lines. It was like,
It was. I got it right here.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, thrilling shows. Yeah.
Thrillers, Discovery, Streets, things like that. And this is also when we talked to Jay Jolliffe, which was on our part 2 of our Nielsen report, who is a market researcher and definitely gave us her, information as far as her background on the Nielsen reporting. But yeah, this was definitely interesting. But I'm sorry, go ahead, continue.
No, it's okay. Yeah, so exactly like what you just said. So we just kind of talked about how this report came out. This report is supposed to lead content creators, and specifically like producers and networks and conglomerates that make us content, essentially how they see this information and how Nielsen packages it and then says, hey, this is what, you know, Black consumers are consuming. This is what white consumers, Asian consumers, you know, all these different demographics. And what makes it difficult is that when you look at the Black women juxtaposed to the white women, so white women are getting all the Hallmark shows basically, because on that, you know, to that particular graph, it shows they're looking for love, they're looking for family, they're looking for all of these kind of wholesome things, as opposed to the Black men and women who are not looking for that, according to this particular this particular graph. So essentially, the conversation with Tiffany was interesting because it kind of shows that a lot of what we watch does, even if subconsciously, affect us. And I think a lot of people don't give that enough stock. I think we kind of think we're passively watching things when there's really nothing passive about, you know, consuming content. There is still a level of, you know, mental absorption, and it kind of changes your views about certain things, even if you don't quite, you know, realize that. So it was a really great conversation. I hope you guys do get a chance to go back and watch that show.
Yeah, absolutely. And because one of the things that I remember us talking about was how these things go into the subconscious, which you were just getting into, of what you're watching, even though you feel like in your conscious mind, you are escaping out from, you know, the real world and what's going on. But if you're watching Black women consistently fighting, is that making you behave in a subconscious way? And she said that it has the potential to actually have an effect on that. I believe that the research, and this is based off of just her, you know, own research and things like that. I don't know if there's a study out there yet, which probably should be something somebody should write about, of the mental effects of us watching the content to try to escape from the real life trauma of, you know, like we're trying to escape, but then we're met with this trauma or this other content that is feeding our subconscious something completely different. Just like in the episode, she brings up rap music and how, even though I love rap music, Tupac, Biggie, all that, Tupac better than Biggie all day. But how listening to that consistently can have an effect. And actually, to tell you the truth, I've now gone on to a hip hop diet just for a little bit.
I've been on one.
I feel like I just need to get off of it, just so then I can clear out some stuff, you know. So I just been listening to more smoother, inspirational music, you know, for right now. Not saying that hip hop doesn't have inspirational songs in it, but I just wanted to give it a break, you know, kind of, detox is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, I mean, and that's when you and I first met. I told you, I'm like, I listen to strange music, because I really at that point, it had been a couple years where my hip hop intake had really decreased. And if I was listening to it, it was more of like older Kanye and like stuff like that, because I could not do like a Ghetto Boys, or I couldn't do any of the older stuff that I was listening to as a teenager anymore. It just was like changing. I felt like my cellular structure. That's how it felt. I felt like I was getting more enraged as I was driving and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, this is not, I'm going to go ahead and put on this Brian Culbertson or something. I'm not going to be able to, I'm going to have to put on some jazz, because I can't do this right now.
I'm not going to lie. Yeah, just me walking up into you know, Red Lobster to get some food after I listen to Mobb Deep. Like I'm walking in there like I'm DMX on Belly, which R.I.P. DMX.
Yeah,
Give him this
DMX,
shout out. You know, we haven't been on. You know, of course, he was somebody in
I'm
music
still in shock.
and film. It is kind of crazy how that came about, and then all the fake stuff that was coming out about him. You know, trolls are just terrible out there. But
yeah,
just for a brief moment, DMX, I think, definitely gave a contribution to hip hop and to film. I think he got misunderstood because some people didn't really listen to some of his albums, just like they misunderstand Tupac sometimes. But DMX was a really spiritual guy.
He was.
He spoke about God and his spirituality all the time. He wavered, but he discussed it, and he was transparent about that. And the one thing is, there was not that many people who can rock a house like he could. So definitely R.I.P. to DMX. 100%. Oh, and then Jay in the chat, she's getting some things started. She's saying subtle messaging. What we listen to and watch, we are filled with messages, and it definitely impacts thoughts and behaviors.
For sure. Yes, I agree.
It's one of those questions, you know, like it is the question that I keep asking people all the time, you know, anytime we bring on a guest, you know, is it art imitating life or is it life imitating art when it comes to Black people? Yeah. Because Asians, you know, stop Asian hate, but I don't think Asians are, what's the word? How am I trying to say this?
Get it together.
Just definitely stop Asian hate. But, you know, I know on film that they've definitely, well, some of them actually, they just don't be getting shown really. You know, as far as their stories, like their story.
They have a real low, they don't have enough content.
They don't have enough content really to say that. But then is that like a way for them to be able to be in their Chinatowns and their areas more secluded and more isolated because there's not enough content for people to nitpick at? Because that's what we do as Black consumers and also white consumers, Latin consumers. They learn about Black people by watching content. Right. You know, so just throwing that out there to the chat. I don't know.
Discussion to be had. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Tobias says, grateful that I have my albums and my stereo to play my jazz music. Yeah, brother.
Exactly.
2-channel. He probably a 2-channel audiophile. I need to go get my.
I don't even know what that is.
An audiophile, it's somebody who loves the sound of good, crisp music. Like they'll spend $5,000 on 2-channel. They get a record player. They have like the highest quality, like where you can hear the subtle details of music that you can't get by listening to it in the headphones. You know,
nice.
There's just and I worked in a stereo store for a while, so I definitely know like an audiophile, when they want to listen to something, they will sit down in front of 2 speakers and just zone out. Yeah.
I love that.
Like me and you, like you are definitely a cinephile.
I am.
You're a cinephile. So
I'm a cinephile, but I'm an auditory learner.
Yeah. I think we all are.
So I like listening to people talk. But I mean, I like it both.
Absolutely. And then we got some more people in chat. Do you want to read? Who we got?
We've got our same crew. Our same crew.
Dubai was a DJ back in the day.
Oh yeah, I could see that. Yeah. I didn't know that Tobias, but I could see you being a DJ because he likes to have a good time.
And then Uncle Pete saying, in all things, barring your experiences and knowledge, and even if it's outside your comfort zone or culture, knowledge is power, and that's true.
And I remember when I was in grad school, I had I don't know what nationality he was. He was not African descent. I'll just say that. And this was at Howard. And I remember him making this comment. I was offended at the time, but now as I'm older, I get it. He was talking about the vibration of music and the vibration of sound and what is a low and a high vibration. And he had, he had a particular classical music song as one of the highest vibrations because of all of the instrumentation. And it had this particular frequency that was a very high frequency for joy, pleasure. It elicited that kind of response. And at the end, at the low vibrational frequency was rap music.
The bass.
And so, so for me, I was offended at the time because I'm like, my 20s, I'm like, how dare you? Like, and he wasn't a Black person. So to me, I thought he was just being racially insensitive. But when you think about it, and like we said, not all rap music is bad, but when you think about the kind of commercial stuff that's on, whatever radio station, that's probably like the lowest rung of the music that's being, produced out there.
From an
So
from an MC standpoint, lyrically,
yeah,
lowest rung. Yes.
lowest rung.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just interesting that when you think about that being played over and over again, the WAP and whatever song that we've talked about that is a song that we do not like, that adds nothing to the culture, that is literally probably takes away.
Oh,
and
your
those
favorite
are the
song?
ones like,
your favorite song on the Judas and the Black Messiah album, the ASAP Rocky song.
oh God,
that?
I don't even remember what that song was, but it was so out of place and ridiculous.
Oh, I wish
it
Omar
made
was in
no
the chat.
sense.
I know Omar remembers the name of that song.
Yeah, I know. It was such a bad addition to that sound. It made no sense.
It made no sense. But go ahead.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just interesting that when you think about low and high vibrational music and things that make you feel pleasure and things that make you feel enraged, all the enraged music gets played on a loop on these black radio stations, and they wonder why we have this kind of, aggressive, I guess, whatever you want to call it, outlook, because the music is subconsciously programming.
Yeah, I mean, Jay says it. Whatever gets normalized, we often begin to behave in such manner. And you ever have where you didn't like a song when you first heard it, but then as the radio keeps playing it, all of a sudden now you're singing to it. Now you up in the club, pre-COVID, dancing to the song, and then you was like, but I didn't even like the song when it first came out.
Yeah,
because they keep just forcing it down your throat to where you gonna like the song, and this is what represents you as a people. And Tobias actually said up earlier how the white stations are starting to buy up all the black radio stations right now.
Oh wow.
And so we're even getting more, because I believe it was Radio 1 was black owned and owned different radio stations around the country.
Yeah, they did.
But I have been hearing almost like Sinclair.
Kathy Hughes, she sold it. Kathy Hughes, wasn't she the owner?
I'm not sure. Maybe, I think so. Or she's at least selling some of them, or at least they're buying them up. But I know like Sinclair, sort of how like Sinclair did, buying up these news programming shows. These news stations, just like that whole video of everybody saying the same thing about how they weren't going to talk junk about Trump. You remember that?
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's what's starting to go down right now, is what he's saying is they're starting to bite up, but it's hard for us to turn away a check, though, I guess. Again,
and that goes to your conversation about Jay-Z selling Tidal.
Man, that was so stupid. It was so dumb.
This is a hard conversation from like the business aspect and then the creative aspects. I get it business wise. I understand wanting to move on from a particular project and do something else, but then culturally, watered down stuff. Well, of course, guys, thank you. Now, while you guys are in the chat, if you guys can let us know if there's any, what was your favorite episode out of the episodes? Now, of course, we just have a short list up here, but what was the episode that you really liked? It appears based off of our views that y'all like the black love dynamics. That's just what the analytics say, that y'all love when. And what I tell you, I told you they would. I literally said, anytime we talk about black love or any type of dynamics with black men and black women, that's the highest rating of ever. It's like people love that.
It is. So
people love that.
So would y'all like us to talk a little bit more about like different dynamics or different shows that talk about dynamics? Because we definitely want to, of course, talk to you, our third host, on like some of the content that you guys want us to talk about. If it is, we don't have to get too much into the weeds, because we did get our note about how our episodes run long, which we will be ending the episode soon. So please
shortly
hit that thumbs up if you can before we do get out of here. But
like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications.
Hit that bell for your folks. We family, remember? So
so my mom liked the female directors of the top. She liked that.
Oh, and the top 10. Right.
Yeah, in the top 10. The top 10, I like doing those too. I think people like those. And Tristan, my brother, said, every hip hop song that's out now is garbage. And Jay's right. The highest vibration, as I do yoga often. Yeah.
Whatever. That's why people don't like subwoofers, because I used to design 5.1, 7.1 surround sound systems, and you have to have a subwoofer because it gives it that low frequency. That's where that rumble comes from. And people always think that it's like the boom, boom, boom of like Jurassic Park dinosaurs walking through the park. It's not that. It helps fill the sound. So if you're ever watching a suspenseful movie, like getting a sound bar and getting a small subwoofer that's wireless will drastically improve your watching experience.
Does. We have both of those, and and we have the cheapest version of LG. They have the LG cheapo subwoofer soundbar, and just those alone. And my parents have the same exact one. It just, that alone just makes it so much better.
Yes, yeah, it is. So I would definitely suggest to heighten, your movie going experience. Audio is definitely in there, but to hear about the higher frequencies and lower frequencies and it being considered to rap and your feelings and things, I can definitely see that. Of course, Aisha, Black Love all day.
Black Love all day.
Appreciate you, girl. Appreciate you though.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of my favorite episodes I remember, because I think we went like really deep in the weeds, was the MLK FBI.
That was the scariest one for everybody.
Nobody talked. Nobody.
You guys were literally so silent during the MLK FBI episode. I was like, is anybody there? Hello.
Yes. It was
so funny.
Y'all were gonna log back in and watch it on your burner account. Just so that
exactly. So like, and I think Omar's mom said, "Is this being recorded?" Like, just to make sure.
Right.
It was just funny. But Diamond said she likes the deep dive movie reviews. Okay. I like those too.
Yeah. We're definitely going to be doing that because they have there's so much more content that's coming up.
So much more content. Yeah, but I do think I like the top 10 movie reviews too, and I loved the Black female director episode too.
Yeah,
I really like that one.
That probably was my favorite moment. Of course, having Jay on our show was actually my favorite show of all time. That was an amazing show. That was an amazing show.
Having her and Tiffany on the show brought a lot of levity. It just brought, I think the Jay show was like the most fun I've had with the audience because they were eating that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love having guests. I love having guests that have a good point of view and have like a really good, just like knowledge of things that we don't have the knowledge on. I love that.
Exactly. So. We're bringing experts. Subject matter experts onto the show.
Yeah, some smees.
So I do. So we, definitely doing some more. Top 10. I don't know. Maybe we should do that because we already did our all-time top 10. That was on our very first dry run episode. Right. We did 2020. So right now we got I don't know. Maybe in June we can do like top 10 or something like that rating, or maybe we start doing it by genre. Top 10.
We do genre maybe.
Yeah, top 10 Black romantic movies.
But we don't have to always do Black, right? Because we watch Stanley Kubrick. We watch, even though he's a weirdo, but we watch other genres and other types of ensemble cast that aren't just Black. So
right.
Get into that too.
And then so the truth is sometimes painful to watch. Oh, that's Tobiah. And then men training for young men should be a subject. Oh, men training young men should be it should. And then it looks like Jay agreed with Tobias saying, I agree with you. I can see guys tackle the impact of reality TV on Black female relationships.
Well, and remember we talked about that? Well, we wanted to have kind of like a Black male conversation, right, and we wanted to have a Black women conversation. We talked about having something like that too. Okay. Just having you and another man, and then I'm just kind of like adding my 2 cents while you guys kind of rap, and then vice versa with the women.
Yeah, we definitely want to have this open, and we love having guests, so I hope that you guys enjoyed the guests that we do have. I mean, we have one of them in there in the chat with you guys now talking.
Exactly.
And then Tobias, I guess he wants us to talk about more about the movement, the movement in the 60s.
Okay.
Or
I love that.
I got a documentary about an event that happened in the 60s. So
which we need to talk about too, because he has a documentary. Why don't you tell them, just give him a little snippet, just real quick, just tell them about it.
You're embarrassing me. No,
you brought it up. You brought it up. You can't leave a breadcrumb and then just take the whole loaf away.
You're right,
give them something.
My bad. Right. So in some of the people in this chat have seen it. My family and Jay and stuff. And you've seen it. But I did a film called Walls That Bleed. It's a documentary about an event that happened in 1969 when North Carolina A&T State University students and Vietnam veterans had a 3-day gun battle against the entire city police department and 650 National Guardmen. And it all started because of the school administration's mishandling of a high school student election. It's one of those stories that's been swept under the rug. It was actually my first film that I did straight out of college when I graduated from North Carolina A&T. Took me 12 years to make it, and I'm still in the process of trying to get it out there. And so the 60s...
It's great. It's really good, guys.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. But like once I started working on that film in the years that it took me, like the 60s is an era that I feel like I missed out on. I just feel like that was like such a pivotal time, for us with the desegregation and the assassinations of so many people.
So many people.
And then the Black Panther rise and all that other stuff. And it felt like you know, the 60s are very complicated, you know, in the 70s, of course, but the 60s.
The 60s are very, we could spend a whole, literally our entire show could be on the 60s and every episode would be something different.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the 60s is really just like it's like a decade that was like a century long.
You know what? And I think actually even talking about the movies that reflect that movement. Because, you know, one thing we want to do on the show is we do want to keep it meaty because, you know, we're filmmakers. We love watching film and then we love doing the research. And I know that a lot of you guys enjoyed the media references that we used to do. After we did an episode, we would do a media reference of like, watch these movies. Yeah. Maybe we should do an early critique, maybe that, because we're going to break up the show a little bit and change the format up just a smidge, but I can see us doing different films in that era reflecting Black life, you know, and what it
that'd be cool,
and what it talked about. So that's something. So once again, third host, always showing up. Y'all always showing up.
Always.
Right. And then my
mom. I remember my mom. I remember Angela Davis hanging out in my high school. See, that's the kind of stuff that I love. I didn't even know that, Mom. That's cool.
Oh, that's awesome. I actually interviewed her.
Did you?
I actually interviewed Angela Davis. Yeah, for an event that I actually did for John Hope Franklin. He wrote oh my goodness, I can't remember the name of the book though. Like this first story of African American history. You know, not the first book, but it's like the most well known book. And I was working with somebody at Duke University, and we put together this art installation. And she was there speaking, and she came to it. And so I interviewed her, and it's up on Vimeo. Maybe I'll share it one day.
Share it one day. You should.
Oh, and then my uncle talks about the fuzz and the jive.
What is the fuzz and the jive? What's that?
That was my very first movie. That's 2001. Okay. It's a student film, and it's about a black basketball player who is being framed of raping and killing a white girl, but it ends up not being him, and I play the cop. So if we're doing student films, I got to bring my student film out. I was gonna say Black on Campus. That was one of my student films. Really? I was walking around and talking about how I had to take my hair out because I was having an interview with white folks. So I had braids in my hair, and we have to. You know, one day, you know, guys, what we're might do is we may release some of our films and let y'all know where they're at, and then have y'all watch them, and then we'll just come on the show and just have a conversation about it. I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Okay. Well, guys, you know, I think we're about at the end of our, you know, show right now. You know,
but keep the ideas coming because this is good. Tobiah, that was a really good idea of the 60s because we've talked about the 60s a lot. I've talked with Omar about the 60s a lot. I feel like the 60s, like I said, is like there's so much happening in that decade.
So much happening.
So much happened.
It is. And just like the play I told you about today.
Exactly.
You know, because Amber has a movie idea that I'm very into. And there's a play that was written in the 60s that kind of goes off of her idea.
Exactly.
So the 60s was the Black arts movement. It was going on during the 60s. That's definitely.
Maybe we do decades. Maybe we just do a couple decades. Like my mom said, like the 70s. Maybe we do the 80s. Like, because we kind of forget the 80s sometimes a little bit.
Right. Other than
so maybe we do the 80s.
Beverly Hills Cop and Coming to America and Cosby.
Right. But I mean, there was some depth and I feel like the 80s was so much comedy. I want to kind of dig and see what else that just kind of got swept that we didn't quite see.
Right. Now I hear you. Well, you know, guys, just to remind you, this is our season finale. Season 2 will premiere on May 13th, which is 3 weeks from now, at 6:15 p.m. I don't know. Is there anything you wanna say? You know, closing out.
Just you know, keep sharing the shows. What we're probably going to end up doing, like this break is, you know, for us to kind of like he said, work on the show a bit more, but we're also going to probably put the shows available. I'm hoping we put the shows on like Facebook or something. We have to at least put a link on our Facebook page so people can actually watch the shows, but please keep sharing, hit the notification, let your coworkers and friends know about the show. And if you have ideas, you can always come back and write them or text us or email us, whatever, if you have show ideas. But definitely interested. And you guys have gotten me on the civil rights. Tobiah talking about you need to talk to your mom about San Jose State, which I feel like I do need to talk about her more. So I didn't know Angela Davis was hanging out in high school and stuff. I didn't know all that.
I know. My mom even chimed in. She always comes in at the end.
At the tail end, she does.
You know why? Because your aunt wasn't in here.
That's right. Her they're synced. They're synced. Yeah.
Yeah. She wasn't in here. They was up too late watching Blacklist.
Exactly.
Okay.
They told us on that episode. They
They
told us.
did. Oh, they got us good on that one. Well, folks,
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. This was an endeavor that me and Amber wanted to take, and we said that we wanted to sort of fail forward a little bit, kind of get our feet wet, and you guys have been with us through the whole time. You've shown us support. Please continue by hitting that like button for us. And yeah, we're just ready to see how we're going to, upgrade and just bring better content to you guys. So, love y'all. Love, peace, and power.
Bye, guys.
Peace.
Love y'all. Okay, you still there?
Oh, you almost caught it. Yeah. I'm here.